Playing those gigs, you still live quite far away from each other, right? So what was it like playing those initial gigs?
Initially, when we were playing a lot in Brisbane, which is around about halfway up the east coast of mainland Australia, I would often fly up. Okay. And when Tim organised the residency, I said, yeah, I'll do it. I'm like, come up every week for a month. And I realized, later I was like, oh shit, I've got to go. Like, how am I going to do this with my life? But at that point in my life, I was very happy to be, and I still am, but I was very happy to be playing music with people because it's what I'm obsessed with. I just love doing it and I have to do it. So I was quite happy, and I didn't have any other things to tie me anywhere. So I just would fly up and stay for a week and play some gigs, go home for a little bit, come back up and just do this kind of constant up and down to Brisbane and back. And then when we started to, I guess, release music and people heard of us, then more and more shows happened around Australia in other parts of the country. And when that happens, it doesn't really matter where you live anymore because you're all travelling somewhere. So it doesn't matter where you start, you know?
And it ended up being kind of like, it was great because I had backline in Brisbane and home crowd.
Yeah.
And then Oscar had backline and home crowd in Melbourne. And now I've moved to Tassie, so when we tour in Australia, we have like 3 hometown shows. Right. Because we're kind of home everywhere.
Yeah, so it's actually, I think it's better. It's good.
Yeah, I always think of that band, The Postal Service, like as an inspiration of a band who, didn't live together and they write everything like online. And we do a bit of that as well. Like although less now, but there was a period when we would
send things.
I would send Oscar an idea, like a rough idea, and then he would send back like a much more produced instrumental version, and then I would put down vocals and send it back, and then we would send it to our drummer and he would put drums on it, and we'd have these little demos that sort of occurred all separately. And then we would take them to the studio and Matt would say he didn't like them, and we'd...
And then we'd just start from scratch,
Would you say less now? So why less now?
Because we make... Well, I'm not sure what you were going to say, but because we realise how... I mean, I think it's better when we just are together in a room, but also we it's kind of good to, I think, for us to like spend time away and then time together and then away, then together. And so when we get together, we work quite intensively, but it's quite fresh. And then so we're not always just sending things back and forth and like having these ongoing songs where you get really close to it and you can like lose your perspective. I find that at least. And so then,
I guess there's also like, in terms of like grooves, like when you've got like a drum part and a bass part and a melody that are really kind of like driving the song, those are hard to write separately. And a lot of the next record is about that kind of energy and that kind of groove. I guess it comes out of like having played a lot of live shows now, and we want the live show to feel really good, and so we've kind of made the effort to do more of the, like we still do write like that, but it's more like we try and keep it a bit like just sketches, just kind of like melody ideas and progressions, and then we get together and just like book a rehearsal place for a few days and then build the songs in the room together. And I think it's, I mean, you can do it, everything, each has its strengths and weaknesses, but that's been our approach for this record, and it's been going well.
And, well, just a little segue, is it important for you to have some time away from the band, from a personal standpoint?
Well, yeah, I mean, I think it is important. I think, well, from a personal standpoint, but also from a musical standpoint. But yeah, from a personal standpoint, I mean...
Well, you can take both.
I think we have enough time, well, I don't know, I mean, do you have enough time? I think I have enough time away from it. It's kind of...
I just kind of chip away at it.
Yeah,
it's kind of like just in the background. There's all kinds of different jobs. It's like a little part-time job, really. There's all this like admin, and then like album art, and then like, listening to mixes, writing lyrics, writing songs. And I feel like I'm kind of constantly chipping away at it.
It's always it's always there, but I think it's good to just be chipping away. It's like, because Tim does other things. He runs a festival in Tasmania where he lives and has a family, and I have I have my things in Melbourne. I do other writing and production and so on. And for music alone, I think it's great when you step your head out of it and go into something else and work on some other music, whatever it might be, then step back into it, and it clears my head. So,
and in these periods, then, do you store up ideas and things that you have?
yeah, we often like record little ideas and like, yeah, like we've often got like songs that are finished, songs that are in the works, and like these ones that were like, oh, there's that little idea that we wrote in that green room, or that you know we recorded on that phone, that we're going to come back to, and so on.
Yeah, I mean, yeah, there's songs. It's like you send them, like there's like ideas that it's like you send them out, like into your with the other band members, but then only some of them kind of come back, like.
Right.
And you almost can't control which ones are the ones that come back, you know?
Yeah.
And the ones that come back, you just know when they're
working.
When they're working, yeah.
So if we take then the latest single, Darwinism, do you remember that moment when it started to come back, and then you thought, okay,
there
now
was a bit of happenstance with that one, wasn't there?
We had like, that song kind of had like, I wrote like a little sketch of the melody and recorded it and like showed it to Oz, and I had some ideas about how it might come together, and then a lot of time went by, and then Oscar was working on a bit of an instrumental demo, and then we were in London, and Oscar had this little studio in London, and he was doing some writing with an English artist, but there was a spare day, and so I like came over in an Uber, and we spent a day in this tiny little like studio about the size of a cupboard. And we bashed out, like kind of finished the song, you know, like took it from like a sketch to like a full song. We put all these vocals on it, and I put this like Beach Boys like ooh, 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 like melody on it and stuff. And then we had that for a while, and we were showing that to like our manager and so on, and showing it to the band. And then, you know, another like probably 6 months or so passed, and then we got together with the band in a room, and we kind of developed like that beat and started to come up with this idea of like it being quite sparse, because it's quite sparse at the beginning. It's just like this, just drums and guitar, no bass, no synth.
Right. It's
just kind of like this motif. And then we kind of, while we were on tour, we started talking about horns, and we decided, because we were listening to Midnight Oil and The National and Bon Iver.
Bon Iver as well.
And so we had this idea, we wanted to do this orchestral horn piece. So Oscar like wrote a score on the laptop, and we started having horns in the piece and so on, and then we did it in the studio for real with real horn players and recorded it all. So that was kind of like, it wasn't like it was slowly working. It kind of happens in these bursts of development.
Yeah.
And then with a song like that, then you mentioned the horns, and when you think about, do you think about the live shows when you're writing a song like that?
I think, yeah. I mean, it's always a balancing act, I think, for me, about, yes, think about the live show and how could we play this and how could we perform it and pull it off. And then the other factor for me is also, well, you know, fuck it too. Like,
generally our rule is like, to a large degree, it's like, don't worry about the live show.
Okay.
Just write the best possible song. And then when the song's finished, we'll go, how are we going to do this?
How the fuck are we going to do? But then also with the horns, I mean, I think a part of that process was thinking, oh God, it'll be great when we can go on the road with the horn section and have them on the stage. But of course, where we're at the moment, I mean, we can't bring the horns everywhere with us, so we have to figure out a way to kind of make it work for all the shows where we don't have them.
But we might get some. We might take them in Australia when the shows are a bit bigger. We might bring a little horn section.
Because, well, you mentioned before that you kind of have these home bases all over Australia. Does it feel a little bit like starting over when you come to Europe? Or?
Yes and no, like, yeah, in some ways, like, because we do find ourselves, like on the last tour we're doing shows, like some of them to like 15 people. In like Manchester we did a show to 15 people, and that reminds me of being 18 again, and doing those kind of shows. So there is that, but you know, I mean, things like this, like, didn't happen. So there is we're a different kind of band, and there is a bit of interest, and I guess like with Spotify and radio, and you know, there is a bit of a fan base, and you know, I guess we're a bit older and hopefully a bit less phased. Like, you know, we can do a show to 15 people and have a good time.
Well,
yeah.
Oh, go ahead.
Oh yeah, I mean, and the Netherlands has been. It's always wonderful coming here. We've been getting a great reception here in the Netherlands. It's just awesome. But both in terms of hospitality and how well we get treated, but also crowds at shows. And
people are just great.
People are awesome. Yeah.
Well, one thing I often like to ask, because it's a little bit subjective, but for you then, how do you see success?
I see it in all sorts of... I'm a bit schizophrenic about success. It depends what mood I'm in. Mostly success is...
That's a good question.
The best answer is always with success is where I feel good about what I've created internally and about the meaning of what I'm doing and how good my relationships are. But it's nice when some money comes, and it's nice when the shows get bigger and people come to the shows as well. So I'd be lying if I said that I didn't care about those things, because I do. But I mean, also, if I'm doing those things and the music isn't great, then it's shitty.
Yeah, I mean, I think people at shows is a big one, and I remember like there's a venue in Melbourne called Northcote Social Club, which is like 350 cap or something.
Something like that.
And I remember being like young and being like a acoustic like troubadour, and you know that venue was mentioned like, oh, maybe you could do a show there one day, and even like supporting another band. It's like, oh wow, and and then when then we at that venue headlining and selling that venue out, and then like the Corner is another like really iconic venue in Melbourne that everybody plays, and it's like 800 cap, and we played that and sold it out. Like they were really like milestones, and it was like, wow, I can't believe this is happening, and felt really different to other things I had done in the past. This band does have a bit of momentum, and it's been exciting to kind of, because it doesn't even, I guess because we've got a good team, like we've got a manager and agent and stuff, and so we don't have to kind of push it. We have to do at the music side, but the whole administration side, there's other people working that are really great, and they do a great job, and so it's exciting when you go to these venues and they're sold out and there's crowds of people there, and we get to.
It's always weird. I find it's so weird. I find it really weird. It's like, why are you buying tickets to see us? What are you doing?
Who are you people?
Who are you? Oh shit, we're going to totally let you down. I'm so sorry.
No.
I do think that though sometimes. Yeah, of course, yeah. But
that's a good way to end this interview.
Okay, great.
Why are you coming? Thank you very much.
Thank you.
No worries, thank you.
Thank you.